Today, we're going to look at the best and also the easiest way to make an org chart. All you need is a list of people and their managers, and you can generate an org chart. You can select from different styles, you can add people's pictures, that way you can make it all nice and pretty. And then you can export it. Let's dive in. First off, you need some type of data with relationships. And I'm not talking about people dating in your organization. Unless, of course, that's what you're trying to visualize, in which case, more power to you. But you need data with connections or some type of hierarchy. Here, for example, I have all of my org data in Microsoft Excel. Here I have everyone's name in the organization, and then I also list who they report to. And then also the title, but that's optional. You don't necessarily need that. Here, for example, Patty is our president. She's at the very top of the organization. And then Patty has 4 reports, me included. And then here, one of her reports, Nestor, he has his own reports, and that's all specified down here. Now, this happens to be in Excel, but you could copy this data from anywhere. It could be in Word, it can be in an email message, or my favorite, you could also have it in a Notepad file. You just have to make sure that you specify what those relationships are between all the different people in the organization. Once you have all of that, let's copy the data. Here, I'll simply go down, press Control-C to copy, and that places it on the clipboard. Next, head to this website, thebricks.com. You can click on the card right up there. I've also included a link in the description, or simply go to this URL that you see on the screen. That'll drop you on Bricks. It's completely free, and it's a lot easier to make an org chart here than in Word, PowerPoint, or Visio. If you've never heard of Bricks before, it's a new service that brings the power of AI to spreadsheets and documents. Basically, it makes it super easy to pull together an org chart, along with many other things. Once you finish signing up, you'll land here in a new chat. Over on the left-hand side, you can see the chat. And here we can interact with the Bricks Bear, or your AI assistant, to make all sorts of different things. And right down here, you'll see a few different examples. You can pull together a roadmap. Here, you can make a timeline, a list, a table, and all sorts of different examples. But we want to make an org chart. So let's go down to this text field at the very bottom, and you can also just type in a prompt. So over here, let's say make an org chart. And you'll notice when I type in org chart, it highlights that word because it has an understanding of what an org chart is, and it'll be able to help us make that. I'll press Shift Enter to go down to the next line, and then I'll paste in all of that data that I copied from Excel. Here we see what all of that looks like. Now that I've entered in all of the data, over on the right-hand side, let's click on this icon to generate the org chart. And look at that, it's now created a beautiful looking org chart using all of the data that we pasted in. Now, if I go down to the bottom, you can also try out different styles. Here, for example, I'll click on this first option, and this swaps it out for that new style. And you could go through here and see which style works the best for your organization. Here, for example, this one includes placeholders for photos. So maybe you want to show the people's face there, you could do that. And here I could scroll over and we see lots of different options. So again, you could play around with this to see what works the best for you. Now, I just want a basic org chart. Now I'll click on this one, and I think this one represents the data very well. This one looks really nice. When I glanced at the org chart up above, I think there was one mistake. Right over here, when I look at me on the org chart, currently my title is Cookie Monster. And while that is probably true, and I do like cookies a lot, that's not my official title. To make edits to this org chart, you could simply click on any component of the org chart. So over here, I'll click into the title. I can highlight the text and let me type in my actual title. Here at the Kevin Cookie Company, I work as a content creator. I guess this YouTube thing is kind of working out. Now that I've made that change, one other thing I noticed is I actually recently just got my own direct report. I'm building out my team, but that doesn't currently show up on here. So of course I could go back and I could paste the data in again with my direct report, and then I could generate all of this. But instead, you can also update the underlying data behind this org chart. So how do we do that? Well, if we look over on the left-hand side, when we created this org chart, it also created a new view called Bricks Data. Let's click on this. This opens up a spreadsheet with all of the underlying data that powers the org chart. And what's really neat is when I went in and I made that update to the org chart, it also goes back and it updates the data in the data table that powers the org chart. Now I need to add a new employee who reports to me. So I'll go all the way to the bottom of this table and let me hit enter to add a new row. And I'll type in the person's name. It's Chaco. He works really well. And he reports to me. So I'll go up here. Let me copy my name. Let's come down here and I'll paste it in. And let me enter in his title. He's a video editor. I'll type that in and then hit enter. And that's now added the new employee to this table. Now here's a really neat thing. Let's now go back to the chat. And if we go down just a little bit, here's that org chart that we pulled together. And look at that, it automatically updates based on the underlying data in that spreadsheet. That is so cool. Looking over at this org chart, it looks just a little bit plain to me. It's just black and white. And we are a cookie company, so we like to try to have a little bit more fun. And I think color can maybe help with that. So I want to change the style here. Now, I no longer have all the styles underneath since I've come in and I've started making some edits. So to change the style now here, I'll simply click on the org chart and that opens up this contextual menu on top. And right here, I have the option to change the style. I'll click on that and that opens up this pane over on the right-hand side. And here again, I can see all the different org chart styles that I can select. And let's see, I liked this one right here. It's the same design, but it adds some color. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. We have an all hands presentation coming up where I'm going to introduce new employees to the organization, and Chaco is one of our new employees. And when I introduce him, I want to show this visual, but I want to make sure that everyone can see very easily where he sits in the org. So right here, I'll click on Chaco in the org chart. And right up here, I have all these different formatting controls that I can use to adjust the way this looks. Now, I really want it to stand out. So right up here, I'll click on the border color and let's set maybe a red border. And right here, I can also adjust the border style or the thickness. So let me go with this really thick border. That way, when we introduce him, everyone will see exactly where he sits in the org. I think this looks really good and I'm ready to export this. In the top right-hand corner, while I have this design selected, right up here, we see a download icon. And when I click on that, I have two different options. Here, I could download an image or a PNG, and I could also download this as a PDF. Let me click on image. And right there, it looks like it's downloaded it. Let's have a quick look. Ooh, this looks perfect. This is exactly what I need. Now that I've pulled together an org chart of the entire organization, Patty has also asked me if I could pull together an org chart of just the senior leadership team. And luckily, because data is powering this view, that's a really easy change. Over on the left-hand side, let's click back into Bricks data. This once again opens up all of the underlying data for the org chart. And what's nice is this is a spreadsheet, so you can filter this data to get the view that you want. So I just want the senior leadership team. So basically everyone reporting into Patty Fernandez. So right up here, I'll click on the manager and let me deselect all. I'll select blank because Patty doesn't report to anyone. And I'll also select Patty Fernandez as the manager. So that way it'll just show her and all the people who report to her. Down below, I'll click on apply. And now that's filtered this table. Now, if I click back into the chat and we go down and we look at the org chart, look at that. It's updated the org chart based on the filters that we selected in the underlying data. Now, one additional adjustment I'd like to make, I think for this view, I'd like to include photos. So let's go back to the data. This again opens up the underlying data table for the org chart. And all the way over on the right-hand side, there's a column for image. I can upload an image for each person within the org chart. So right up on top, we have Patty Fernandez. Over here, I'll double click an image. And this now opens up a dialog where I can drag and drop a photo of Patty in. So here I have a photo from my computer. I'll drag it in and that'll now upload it. And here it's now placed the image in line. Now I could go through and add a photo for all the rest of the people. Let me do that. Now that I've added everyone's photo into the table, let's go back to the chat. Over on the left-hand side, let's click into chat. Down below, here I see the org chart, but I don't yet see any photos. But the reason why is I'm currently using a design or a style that doesn't include any photos. So let's click on this one, and right up on top, let's click on style. And that opens up the pane again with all the different org chart options. And here we see a bunch of different options, but I think I like this one down here. I'll click on this and look at that. It now updates the org chart and it also includes all of the photos from that table. Now that I finished pulling together this view, just like we did earlier, I could go up to this menu up on top and here I could download a copy as a PNG image or as a PDF, but you also have some additional options. Over on the left-hand side, we have the option to send a copy to, and when I click on that, I can send this to a board. Let's try doing that. This now opens up the org chart on a board view. Over on the left-hand side, you can see that we're currently in a board. So what is a board? Well, it's a place where you can present information or data. Over on the right-hand side, we can add additional elements to the board. For example, we could add text. Here you could add a canvas, or you could add tables, or you could add charts. So you could add all sorts of information here to present to others. Now, up on top, let's try adding some text. I'll click on that, and here we see all these different text styles. I like this visual board in blue background. I'll click on that, and that adds it to the bottom. But let me actually click on this and drag it to the top. Here, I'll place it right up above the org chart. I think that's a good placement. I'll select this area right here. Let's remove that. And that way, this title appears right at the top. Let's highlight all this text right here, and I'm going to update it to the Kevin Cookie Company Senior Leadership Team. And right here, I have all of my different formatting controls. Here, I could adjust things like the size. Let me make that larger, and also remove this line of text. And there, it says the Kevin Cookie Company Senior Leadership Team, and then we see the org chart with the team. That's looking good. To share this out with the broader team, up on top, I can click on Present, and this launches me into presentation mode. Here, I see that title slide with the SLT text. Looking good. And here I can advance to the next slide, and here we see that org chart with the leadership team. I'll press the Escape key, and that brings me back to the Edit view. I can also share it up on top by clicking on this button. And when I click on that, here I can have other people come in, and maybe they want to edit this board with me. Maybe we want to pull together a presentation. I could do that. And down below, I also have the option to publish this to the web. I'll click out of this. In this video, we've been focused on how you can make an org chart, and it is truly easy to make an org chart, but you can also make many other types of visuals. Over on the right-hand side, when I click into Canvas, you can see a sampling of some of those other types of visuals. For example, you can insert a timeline, and just like with the org chart, this is also based on data. So if your underlying data changes, the timeline will also change. Here, if I scroll down, here we see the org charts, and we looked at these quite a bit. And if we go down, you can insert infographics. Here we have a team member view. So you have all sorts of different visuals that you can insert. And look at that, easy peasy. Let me know what you think of bricks in the comments below. Were you able to successfully make an org chart? Did it work how you expected it to work? What do you like? What do you dislike? What else do you want to be able to make? Let me know all of those thoughts in the comments below, and I'll share them with the dev team so they can continue improving the product. To watch more videos like this one, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.